Today's market is incredibly crowded with game releases, so if you're a publisher, ideally you can give people a reason to pick up your new game beyond it just existing. Lots of things exist. So why your game? Why now? Especially when you have people in the media who might be doing videos for other people to find out about something. Give us a reason. Give us a hook. Something to tie into beyond just, here's a thing. Blue Orange Games has done this with the release of Planet, designed for 2 to 4 players by Erdis Schulinkas, a game in which you are building a planet. Well, they are releasing this title on April 22nd, 2019, which is Earth Day, the day that you care about Earth more than the other 364 days. The rest of the time, you're just walking around and you're like, sure, there's something solid under my feet, but whatever, I don't care. But suddenly on April 22nd, you're like, oh, Mother Nature has provided me this special place in which to live. Maybe I should try to make one myself. How hard can that be? The game includes 4 dodecahedrons that have this very shiny surface on them, and that is because they are magnets upon which you will be placing landscape tiles in order to build your world. Let's look at this in a little more detail. Here are most of the components of Planet. You have 50 magnetic tiles that are laid out in 10 stacks of 5. You have 45 animal cards, with 20 of them being laid out in this arrangement, and the rest of them put aside out of play. You have a first player marker to keep track of who is going first each round. You have 5 habitat cards that I'll talk about later, and each player gets one of these funky magnetic planets. This starts with nothing more than the core. Each round, you are going to turn over the tiles for that round, and then each player is going to choose one of them in clockwise order, starting with whoever has the first player marker. So I might choose this, place it somewhere on my world. Each other player is going to choose one. We'll have one left, or we'll have more if we're playing with only 2 or 3 players, and that goes down here as our choice in the 11th round. So if I'm paying attention, I know one of the tiles that will be available in round 11. Pass the first player marker to the next player, turn over these tiles, everyone drafts something, I get this goes over here. And why we're doing all this is because we don't just want to have a world, we want to have life on our planet. We're all competing for the best life. So the conditions for life are shown on each of the particular animal cards here. In this case, the jellyfish will go to the player with the largest region of water on their planet that does not touch forest. So as you're picking tiles, you want to make sure that you are creating regions that will score. In this case, I have a body of water that takes up 6 triangles or 6 areas, but it touches water, or touches forest, so it's worthless when trying to claim the jellyfish. So I probably wouldn't want to take this tile if I had a choice, but I might take this one instead. It's a smaller body of water, but now it potentially scores. So at the end of the 3rd round, after everyone has chosen their tiles, we see who has the largest region of water not touching forest, and whoever that is claims that card. If there's a tie, the card just shifts down to the next round, so everyone who's competing will know that it's there waiting for them, try to enlarge their body of water in order to score this. If someone claims it, they take it, put it face down, and you go to the next round. Largest glacier, or largest ice region that touches a forest. And all the animal cards take one of 3 forms. The largest region that touches something else, the largest region that doesn't touch something, in this case the largest forest that does not touch desert, or the most regions of a particular landscape type. I want to have the most desert regions on my planet compared to all the other players in order to claim this card. In this case, I have nothing. But I have lots of time before this card is resolved, so maybe I can build them up. The animal cards are laid out at the beginning of the game so everyone can see what they're trying to do. We want a large body of water not touching forest. Then we want ice that is touching forest, and then water that's touching mountain. You think everyone would be going along the same lines, but the game very nicely scales upward where soon we're looking at 2 animal cards and then 3 animal cards as we get towards the end of the game, and you cannot possibly get everything. You're limited, of course, to the tiles that are revealed, and you don't see those until the start of the round. You can't plan ahead and say, well, I'm going third in this round, I'll probably take this one and this. You don't even know what's available. And so you kind of have to adapt, which is a good word for this game, as the tiles come up. What am I trying to score? I can't possibly beat everyone at everything because each player is adding a tile each turn, and there's no way that I'm going to have larger regions of all 5 types of landscapes than each other player. That's not going to happen. So you have to focus on particular things and try to ideally just beat people out just a little bit each time. So you're trying to grab as many animals as possible. Aside from the public part of the game, you also have a private goal. There's 5 types of landscapes, and there is a habitat card for each of those particular types of land. The cards show a number up above, and that's the number of triangles that you have of this particular landscape type at the end of the game. If you have at least this many, you'll score that many points. And if you get the next one, well, then you'll score this number of points instead. And the number of triangles vary just because there's more water than glaciers, and so everything's adjusted along those lines. So you're trying to score for this private goal, but at the same time, you're trying to squeeze everyone else for points. Because the private goal is just me. I'm not competing against anyone else. If I have the water tile, I just want lots of water. That's it. It doesn't matter if other people take water as long as I can just keep adding on to my own particular world. But with the animals, if I don't score something, someone else is. So ideally, I'm going to take those cards for myself. As you reach the final rounds of Planet, you feel like the gameplay is both speeding up and slowing down, which is an odd feeling, sort of pulled in different directions. I have fewer places to put tiles, only 2 left in the 11th round, so there's not much I have in the way of choices, but I'm looking at 3 cards, so I'm trying to grab as many of those as I can. So I might be looking at this desert tile in order to assemble all my deserts into one giant region in order to claim this card. But of course, could I possibly claim this mountain by putting this over here? Oh, nope, it already touches the desert. Never mind. Can't do that. How about ice? I've got this 6 triangle block of ice that's touching water, but there's this one here, which possibly will give someone else this card. So you're sort of pulled in multiple directions, even though you have very few choices left of where something can go. I've played Planet 5 times now on a review copy from Blue Orange Games with 2 to 4 players and with a range of players, from children to adults and from casual gamers to more serious, thoughtful players. And the gameplay has varied a lot in terms of what people are trying to do. When I played with 3 children, the children were mostly concerned with getting the cutest animals possible, which thankfully many of them thought different animals were cute, so there wasn't too much direct competition over things. Everyone got the things that they wanted, while I scooped up all the ugly animals and won, because I was paying attention more to the points and not getting the particular animals. But they were satisfied in their own way in that they got to build a world that had all the otters on it. So I get otters and you don't. I win. When I played with casual people, we would pay a bit more attention to what we're trying to grab. But then I had a 2-player game with a good gamer, very thoughtful person, looks ahead, and the game just turned into something completely different because I had only one other person to be concerned with. And Planet is a majorities game. To score those animal cards, I have to have more than you when we're looking at whatever the landscape is. And so if I'm playing with only one other person, I can kind of keep track of what they have. And the rules say you can ask to look at other people's worlds. And so we ask all the time, what do you have of this? What do you have of this? What do you have of this? And you can do that for all the things that are coming up. I know that I need a forest that touches water, and then I need a desert that doesn't touch mountain, and And I can just look ahead a couple of turns, and I can keep that in mind. I pick one tile, you pick one tile. I just need to edge you out just a little bit over and over again. I don't have to beat you by 10. I just need to beat you by 1. And because I see the tiles that come up each round, I can try to do that. over and over again. And of course, you look ahead just a little bit. What's going on in the end game? Oh, there's 3 cards with desert in the end game, and there's one with glaciers, and there's this. There's no forest anymore. Forest doesn't matter at a certain point. So you're looking ahead, and you can try to plan out a bit more what you care about and what you're building toward. And the game just slowed down a lot as we were trying to calculate everything. And I thought about playing the game that way with 4 people, and I thought, no, I never want to do that. And thankfully, I have not had that experience yet. If Planet were a digital game in which I could see everyone's numbers across all the landscapes and all the connections there. What's your largest forest that touches water and that doesn't touch water? Your largest mountain that does the same. On and on and on. How many different types of mountain? You have all these digits raining down on you like the Matrix, and you try to calculate everything and figure that all out. It could be a terrible experience. I haven't had that yet, but that's only because I think when I played with 4 people who were all serious gamers who had lots of experience, we all just internally decided we're not going to do that. We're just going to look ahead a little bit, focus mostly on our own planet. The rules say you can ask other people, see their world, and get an idea of it. But if every single turn you're having to rotate this and be like, what's your largest glacier touching forest again? I think it's 4. Nope. Wait. Oh, it's 5. Oh, it's 5. Okay. Now I'll look at yours. Try to look at all that. And now I'll look at this other one for this other animal card. No. I do not want that experience. I don't want that experience. Maybe you do. Ideally, you can find other people who want that same experience, and then you can try to math everything out and figure out how best to do everything. And it's interesting thinking about the different style of play with different players, because initially, when you're looking at Planet, it seems like a good Spiel des Jahres candidate. Now, Spiel des Jahres is a German game award. It's given out by a jury to the ideal game for a family audience. That is, an audience of casual game players. And if you have casual game players, Planet seems right on the money. The rules are short. Playing time is short. It's 2 to 4 players. It's got a cool hook in terms of the magnetic component that you attach tiles to. It feels very satisfying to build this world and to make something. But if the game would bog down completely based on the players that you're playing with, that's not going to go over well. So it'll be interesting to see whether Planet ends up being a good candidate for Spiel des Jahres. If you're playing with casual people and you are of the same mindset, then this can work well because you build something and you're like, oh, this looks pretty cool. And then when you're trying to count up your points at the end of the game, well, let's get to the points, which I have not mentioned yet. You have the habitat. Well, take apart your globe, pull everything apart and just lay those tiles out in front of you, and then you can count all the triangles more easily. And you're now setting up for the next game because I have all the tiles there and I have a naked planet core in front of me, and I'll be ready to play. I can count everything up. Of the animal cards you take, if they match the habitat, your secret habitat, those cards are worth only 1 point. If I was trying to collect water anyway, then all the animals that live in water, well, I was probably going to get them since I'm already specializing in water. So they're only 1 point each. Not a big deal. For all the other animals in the other 4 habitats, those are worth 2 points each. Harder for me to get, me being the water specialist in theory. So those are more valuable. So you're trying to grab your secret landscape. You're trying to grab the animals not from that landscape in order to keep them from other people. And it becomes much more important in a 2-player game to do that because, of course, if I don't get something, you're going to get it. And I don't want you to get it. So I might not even care about my landscape there. If I can scoop up all the animals, that's going to be more than the 10 points you can possibly score for your habitat. So I'm going to keep them all to myself. With more people, I'm probably going to lose out on those. So I just want a little bit. Winning scores with 4 people have ranged from like 9 to 12. So you're not getting much. You just have to get a little more than each other person, which is how you score those animal cards to begin with. Just a little bit more, squeezing out the best you can. Grab your world and make it the way you want, but only so you can get animals, not for any other reason.